Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here to do another video talking about the many uses of vinegar. I did one several years ago, but it is kind of long, so today I want to abbreviate a little bit, get it out there for those who have this question, because I get it a lot. And I'm not going to go over all of the vinegars I've made. I've made so many different kinds, and if you go to my vinegar playlist, which I'll be linking down below, you'll see just some of those, as well as videos on how to make them. So let's get into these many uses. So a lot of people start making homemade vinegar and they think, well, if I make all this vinegar, what am I going to use it all for? A lot of people just can't think past maybe making a salad dressing or using it for canning. And if you've been told you can't use it for canning, well, that really just depends on what you're making and your vinegar. So we'll talk about that too. So first, let's talk about one of the things you can use your homemade vinegar for is cleaning. Now, if you're using like a citrus peel vinegar, which I do tend to like to use for cleaning, that's just one of the many examples you can use for cleaning vinegar. But citrus peel in particular, it does get very pulpy because the citrus peels just kind of break down. So when you're using it for cleaning, I do highly recommend you strain it through a really fine woven cheesecloth or cotton cloth to help remove all that excess stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be more apt to leave streaks. But yes, you can use it on glass, cleaning floors, and more. And here are some suggestions or ideas of the types of things you can make your vinegar out of for a cleaning vinegar. Anything from evergreens such as juniper, pine, spruce, cedar. I've done juniper and cedar before, and I just love them. They're definitely great for cleaning. Any of your mints, you know, anything that's got that nice minty smell, anything that you like the aroma of in particular. And like I said, citrus, any kind of herb, it could be lavender, sage, rosemary, thyme, whatever sounds good to you. Now, another way I use it sort of for cleaning is as a hair wash / rinse. Sometimes I only use vinegar in my hair when I'm washing it, but it also has a conditioning aspect to it. So even if I'm using my homemade soap or my Dr. Jacobs soap, which their Manoi and their lavender clary sage are my very favorites, especially using my hair, it leaves a really nice scent. I still, though, will follow it up for the conditioning aspects with my homemade vinegar. Typically what I'll do, and using either dried or fresh herbs and flowers, is I'll make it out of things like nasturtium, rosemary, lavender, rose petals, marshmallow leaves and flowers, and sage. Now, one thing about marshmallow is it definitely really give the conditioning aspects of your vinegar a boost because of the properties, especially if you use the root. I've made a conditioning vinegar out of marshmallow root, but it does get a little bit slimy, but it is very conditioning. But I do prefer to use marshmallow leaves and flowers for that instead. But I'll mix these together. So one of the ones I make most commonly, like if you watched last year, I did for the fermented February collaboration, I made a dehydrated herb vinegar using nasturtium leaves and rosemary. I don't recall if I added sage to that as well, but you can use dried or fresh. And then food products. There's a lot of ways that vinegar can be used in food. And yes, you can use your homemade vinegar for canning or pickling, but the main thing that you have to realize is, you know, not all your homemade vinegars are created equal. Like, for example, this one right here, this is banana peel and a mojito mint, which I like this one for the flavor because for some weird reason, I just did it one day, I thought I'd try it. It does seem to end up having a lemon flavor. I don't know why that is. So this would be great for using in salsa. But when I just now opened these and tasted them, what I found is this one doesn't have as strong of that acidic flavor as this one back here does, which is funny that it looks almost greenish, but it was made with mango peels and dandelion flowers. This one is very acidic. So without even doing the test on it with this strip, the pH strip, I can tell this is strong enough for pickling with just by the flavor. But if you're really uncertain, you know, when you make vinegars for a long enough time and you taste them, you'll know which ones by the aroma and the flavor are strong enough for pickling. If they don't have a 5% acidity, then they're not going to be one you'll want to use for that. But then you're going to wonder, well, how do you know? Well, you can get yourself some universal. They need to be universal pH strips. So they need to go from 0 and up, at least down to 0. That's what's important. And then you'll take a little bit of that vinegar out, just a tiny bit, and put it in a separate small container. It's got to be just small enough, just enough where you can dip that pH strip in there, and then you check it. It just takes a few seconds, and you check it against the color diagram, like you'll see right here. And then it will tell you what the pH is. And so you'll want it to between, it can be as low as 2.5 up to 3.5. That's a good pH if you're going to use it for canning. That's going to be about a 5% acidity. If it's higher than that in the pH, then you're not going to want to use that for canning, but it's still going to be good for everything else. It's going to be good for making extracts, for cooking with, for a hair rinse, even for cleaning with. So the higher acidity will clean better than the lower acidity. Now, some other things that you can use this for, though typically these days now I use homemade wine for this. You can use homemade vinegar in marinades. So let's say you're marinating some beef to make beef jerky, and you can use vinegar instead of wine if you prefer to do that. Same thing with making extracts. If I make extracts, these days I prefer using homemade wine because it has a better flavor and all that. But I have made extracts, medicinal extracts, or even multivitamin extracts using just homemade vinegar. And you can use those just the same way you would any kind of alcohol. But the vinegar, the nice thing about that is it's alcohol free. If you're wanting to make some kind of tincture out of your different herbs or roots, then vinegar can be a good option for quite a bit of those. And then more food related items. Obviously you have salad dressings, Italian dressing, even used in ranch, but also in making homemade mayonnaise. You put a little bit of vinegar in your homemade mayonnaise when you're making that. And you can use it, especially if it's got a higher acidity. So if it's your 5% acidity or 3.5 tops pH, then it can be also good for cheese making. I've used my homemade vinegar for making goat cheese when we were getting a lot of raw whole goat milk from a friend, and we were getting so much of it that we just couldn't work through it fast enough. So I made cheese out of a bunch of it and have an old video out on that. And I used homemade vinegar when I did that. I also like to add it to just about any kind of bread I make, whether it be my homemade tortillas like I just made yesterday, my loaf bread, my cinnamon rolls, any kind of bread, biscuits. I will add about a tablespoon of my homemade vinegar. What that does is it helps to preserve them better and just add a little bit of health benefits to it as well. As long as you stick to just a small amount, it's not going to make the bread taste like vinegar. Trust me, it won't. Because like I said, I use it in my cinnamon rolls and they still turn out great. And then some other things would be adding it to your farm animal or pet water just a little bit. That's going to add a lot of benefits. It's going to help with their digestion and so much more. And even just to take it as a supplement as is for your own gut health and your family's gut health. So especially if you're looking at making it out of certain medicinal type herbs that are good for your gut health anyway, so then you're getting those benefits too. And because it's raw, you don't have to worry about losing the vitamins that are going to be in there. For any of those, I use all vinegars. I reserve specific ones for using on my hair, maybe specific ones for using for other cleaning, but all the other vinegars, no matter what they are, banana mint or the mango dandelion, I've made peach vinegar, pear vinegar. Most of the time I'm making some kind of blend. And whatever it is, like I said, the list is long. I don't even remember how many different vinegars I've made. Oh, pineapple, using the pineapple rind. All of those get used for whatever. So it might be in the bottle that I keep here in the kitchen, which oftentimes ends up just being a mix. So it really doesn't matter. I use those for all of the food related stuff, for the animals. And especially, by the way, I'll bring this up. I've noticed this tends to happen mostly when I make a pineapple vinegar. Not all the time, but sometimes you'll get that cam yeast on the top, and it doesn't hurt it at all, but it can change the flavor and make it not as desirable. And the smell, it'll make it very yeasty tasting and smelling, but it's totally harmless. And I just strain all that off. And if I strain off the cam yeast, usually that flavor doesn't remain in the vinegar. But if in the chance it does, then that will be the vinegar I'll use to put in my chicken's water because they don't care. And, you know, I might put in about 1/4 cup of vinegar for a gallon of water approximately when it comes to that. So any of those you can use, you know, put it in your pet's water. Usually, you know, you're just putting enough to, it's going to be really watered down. Usually they don't notice or care. So anyway, I hope I covered everything. I wouldn't doubt that I forgot something that I use vinegar for, but I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of the many things you can use vinegar for. And don't forget to check out my full vinegar making playlist where you can get some more ideas. But as far as learning how to make it, I highly recommend watching the most recent instructional one I did on how to make a fruit vinegar, where I also talk about herbs, you know, making them out of herbs, because the sugar content is going to vary depending on what you're making it out of. But other than that, the process is the same. But you can also go through that playlist and find all kinds of videos where I answer various different questions, like what is on my vinegar, because you can have all kinds of things growing on your vinegar that are totally safe and nothing to worry about. It's just a matter of learning what they are. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any ideas to share, like what is your favorite vinegar to make, what is your favorite blend, and what's your favorite way to use it, go ahead and share that with us in comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.